Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our attendees. Thank you for joining Bexel Manager Online Training Program. My name is Alexander Ilic and I will be your panelist today. I am an architect and senior BIM manager in Bexel Consulting Company with more than 6 years of experience in implementation of Bexel Manager on international construction projects. You have just seen one of our demo video presentations of planned versus actual analysis, in this case on a tunneling project. You can find more of such material on our YouTube page and our LinkedIn page. Today, we will focus on workflows surrounding analysis like this one. But before we start with this interesting topic, let's just repeat some general information regarding our educational program. So, as many of you already heard, the sessions are based on our newly released educational document called Bexel Manager Step-by-Step Workflow Guide. It's a comprehensive document training containing detailed explanations and exercise materials covering all features and all workflows of our software. In these training sessions, we are trying to cover the basics of this document, to walk you through the exercises so you can utilize this document in the right way in your personal training sessions. If you haven't already tried our software, I invite you to request trial on our official web page. So, as I mentioned in previous sessions, you have two types of trial licenses. You have standard trial that lasts for 30 days. It allows you to test all features of Bexel Manager software. So it's 3D, 4D, and 5D BIM analysis with no limitations. And another one is educational trial license that lasts for 1 year. Again, you don't have any limits in terms of features and functionalities of the software. You just have to be student, PhD student, or professor on one of the world's universities, and you need to submit evidence to that. I only have to note that please, when you are registering, use your company email or your educational email as a register information. After you register or buy our commercial license, you're going to also get, besides the license and the software, you're going to also get access to Bexel user area. That's an online platform where you can access with your registration email and password provided by us. Here you're going to find two basic cards for the basic settings about your profile, and the third one, that contains a lot of supporting and educational materials for Bexel Manager software. This online platform is constantly updated with new materials, so I'm going to just briefly explain which kinds of materials you can find here. So the first chapter has manuals and handbooks included in all different languages. And also this chapter also includes Bexel Manager Step-by-Step Workflow Guide, the document that we have based our educational program on. So here you can find all the materials for these sessions. In the tutorials chapter, you can find video tutorials that could be helpful in some cases and easier to understand than the written documents. You can find add-ins free for download that extend capabilities of our software. So there's different sets of add-ins like IFC model checkers, so add-ins that are checking properties and help you with the quality management on your project. Also selection set importer that helps you to import selection sets in an easier way, and some other functionalities. There are also API scripts. Those are open scripts that could help you to reconfigure our software functionalities, certain software functionalities that are left open through our API system. If you have any programming skills, you can reconfigure certain functionalities of the software using our open API scripts that you can download from here. The next chapter is demo or sample projects. So all the projects we are using on these sessions, not only the official V02 model that we are using for our exercise, but also large scale model that I was using yesterday, or infrastructure sample project that I also displayed in one moment. All those models are free for download on our user area. We for now have 4 sample models on our display. We're gonna update it and upload more in the future. For now, we have 4 different models from 3 different authoring tools for 3 different typologies of the project. So we have large scale sample projects produced in Revit software that represents a huge high-rise project with more than 20 buildings and following landscape and roads. Provi-based Bexel infrastructure sample project, that's actually an infrastructure project produced in German Provi-based authoring tool for infrastructure. ArchiCAD-based office building sample project. So the only specific of this project is that it comes from Graphisoft ArchiCAD software, and the Revit-based sample project of roughly the same size as the ArchiCAD one that we are using in our sessions, and that it is also included in the materials for the step-by-step workflow exercises. So after that, you only have webinar materials. Those are basically some support materials that were used in some of our previous online educational sessions. We're going to submit materials from these sessions as well after we complete the whole process. You can also find recordings of all previous webinars, excluding this one, because we will publish videos for all our users of these sessions after we complete this 5-week training program. But for now, we're gonna record every session and send to all registered participants. In databases chapter, basically you can find cost databases that are formatted and ready for integration through Bexel Manager software with your project. You can download it for free. We have cost databases for certain markets and certain languages. So we have covered this basic information, and let's continue with short intro to today's lesson. So today we are going to complete lesson 8. It's the largest lesson in our educational program. So we dedicated 4 sessions of 10 only to this lesson, lesson 8. So it's very important, it's very complex, and I hope that it will help you to understand better the features that we are trying to explain here. So last week we have covered cost management, we have covered basic scheduling, workflows and settings. We have covered advanced scheduling and settings yesterday, and today we're gonna finish some unfinished settings from advanced scheduling workflows, and we're gonna cover the topic of progress tracking, planned versus actual analysis, and some basics in animation in Bexel Manager. So let's start with the lesson. Just before we proceed, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. I just want to remind you that you can submit your questions through Q&A section, and my colleagues will try to answer it. If some of the questions are unanswered, or if I find some questions interesting that all the participants would benefit to hear, I would try to answer these questions at the end of these sessions. So let's start with the practical work. As in the previous sessions, we will go just briefly through the training materials. So after you download the training material from our Bexel user area and unpack zipped file, you're gonna get this Bexel sample project complete model that's actually model with all the exercises executed, with all analysis included, and it could serve as a reference point to measure your results through the training program. You're gonna get sample project start, which is completely empty model that you use as a starting point for your exercises. You're gonna get lessons, which include a set of folders with all the exercise materials and exchange materials that you have to use in your exercises. And you're gonna also get the training material workflow guide, which has detailed explanation and pictures of visualization of all the exercises that you have to do. So today we're gonna speed up a little bit the process. So I have already imported the schedules that I'm gonna need for today's sessions. But as I said, within exercise materials, you're gonna have it, and you just have to import it through the exchange process that we have explained in numerous occasions on these sessions. So before we start with today's main topic, progress entry, I just want to briefly introduce some basic optimization of the schedule that we have in Bexel Manager. So I'm gonna create a new schedule, demo schedule. It's a simple schedule that we have created yesterday. We have created methodologies and zones for this structural work schedules. Structural works. So we're going to just quickly repeat the process of intelligent schedule creation through Creation Wizard. We're going to find our template that we have created yesterday, and we're going to just simply create new schedule. Okay, this is our schedule, so it's the same as the one we were talking about yesterday in detail. So as you remember, it is scheduled for the sample project only regarding structural works. And as I said, even though the structure of the schedule is fully optimized with this intelligent computer algorithm, still it's automatically generated schedule, and all the tasks have the same duration, default duration of 40 hours. So to make functional schedule, we still need certain amount of fine tuning. And today I'm going to show you just briefly few of the workflows that I personally use on my projects, just to see all the available tools for these workflows. But of course, on your projects, you're going to use your project management skills and utilize these tools in the right way for your projects and for your workflows and your set of knowledge. So basically, if we look at this schedule, we're going to see that we have defined all these structural works, especially cast in place concrete works, with the detailed subtasks describing all the activities needed for the execution. So it's formwork, reinforcement installation, concrete pouring, and concrete finishing. And first thing that we see that is illogical from the project management point of view is that we have the same duration for concrete pouring, let's say, and formwork installation. That's just not realistic in the real life projects. So Bexel Manager offers some commands that will help you to speed up your project fine-tuning. So let's say we want to shorten duration for all concrete pouring tasks. We don't have to select one by one. We can just type keyword pouring into a filter and filter all the concrete pouring tasks. Select leave tasks here, and we can cut duration in half comparing to other structural works tasks. After we have done that, we can do the same with concrete finishing. So we're gonna type keyword, filter the tasks, again go to selection, select leave tasks, and cut duration in half here as well. We can see the results in line of balance. Okay, we got some changes in our schedule. So I believe we now have more realistic schedule for these type of works. Again, I'm gonna repeat, this is just the basic optimization. I just want to demonstrate some basic functions here, so this is not a realistic project that we're working on. So besides this line of balance and Gantt view, you can also check your schedule through task report, through cost analysis and cumulative cost analysis. And here with the cost, you see some discrepancies. You see that you are spending way too much money at the beginning of the project than it should be. So this part is pretty much leveled, but at the beginning you have certain activity that takes way too much money, and in the same time probably even resources, even though in this schedule we don't have resources included. So from my opinion, the problem is foundation piles work, which are generally set as duration for all the other tasks, and in reality, they always require more money and more skilled operators and more equipment. So it would be wise to actually extend duration of these tasks, even at 3 times, to be honest, to see what we're gonna get. Okay, it's a little bit better, the situation with this task, but now we have made a problem with our following activity, that is pile caps formwork creation, that is now completely broken, that you have a lot of idle time for your construction crew, because duration of this task is much lower than the one of the predecessor task, foundation piles. We can solve this by simply clicking this activity and trying to push it a little bit forward, because we don't want to have our workers idling for 2 weeks between the phases. So you can find this task with our find in command in Gantt, or you can just return back to the line of balance schedule, go directly to task editor, and within relations, you can add some lag time between foundation piles, let's say 120 hours, and the next activity. Okay, here we got some improvement with the formwork, but we still have a little gap here. So we can repeat the process, going to task editor, and let's say 160 hours lag. Okay, and that's it. Now you have optimized schedule for this type of work. If we go back to the Gantt chart and check task report, yes, our cost cash flow is a little bit more leveled. If we go in depth, sorry, we can check day by day how our cash flow looks like. It's still not ideal, but it's much better than what we had at the beginning. So these were just few simple examples of how you can optimize your schedule. I believe once you apply these functions on your real-time project, you're going to find many more ways to optimize your schedule and to achieve good results with that. I can also demonstrate another functionality, very important for this one, is that Bexel contains automatic level resourcing function. What that means? That means that if you have resource information integrated in your schedule, you can use smart algorithm to modify your schedule automatically to lower the resources needed for that activity. To demonstrate this, I'm gonna create new schedule, a little bit more advanced based on uniformat cost database. So it's gonna be demo schedule uniformat based. So we're gonna use uniformat cost version, create blank schedule as always, go to the new task creation wizard, and this time use predefined template that you can also find within exercise materials, and create complex schedule with 2 levels of methodology defined, and also with the cost information and resources information included. So what that means, if you check the analysis, you can find all the different analytical information regarding cost and assigned resources to the schedule. You can check line of balance schedule as well. As I said, as in all examples, the structure is pretty optimal, but durations and some relations need to be fine-tuned so we get proper results. So if we go and make basic analytics of this schedule and go to the labor as the most important resource here, we see these high peaks for certain types of works. It says it's glaciers. So we can filter this resource and find the glaciers and see how the dynamics of glaciers looks like through time. So you see, this is completely logical that for 1 week you have 12 people on site working on these tasks, then you have 35 people, then the next week 25, then again 13. So there's no way you can sustain such a huge variation in the workforce on your construction site. So this schedule is unrealistic when it comes to this activity. So these resources are mainly connected to curtain walls execution. So the first step to lower the resources needed is to extend duration, as we did in our previous simple example. So we're going to extend duration of these tasks. So all that are connected to the glaciers like this, and also the windows that we have on some floors. And as we see, even with the double duration than the default one, we still don't have any interference with the following activities. So it's good for now. We can check what are the results, and we see some improvement, but it's still not as good as we want it to be. So the next step is to try to optimize these activities through resource leveling command. So you can, with double click, just mark the whole activity of curtain walls framing, let's say, then go to the leveling, level selected. So here you can state the range or the time range in which you want to optimize your resource. In this case, I want to optimize it through whole project execution time. So from the start to the end of the project. I want to add only affected task resources. In this case, it's glaciers. And as I have seen, we have to repeat this process. I forgot to go first to the task report and to check what are the levels of our resource use at this moment. So as we see, we have 6, then 4, then 3.5, 5 workers. So more or less, if we average this at 4 workers per day, I believe we're going to get much better results. So again, this is selected, go to the level selected, go to add affected task resources, glaciers, and we can define that maximum allocation for this activity and for this resource will be 4 workers. So we click OK. We can analyze this, and now we see the warnings that said that we have overlocation in certain tasks, so that these tasks have to be modified. We can use the type of modification, so this task could be delayed or stretched, or automatically the algorithm can choose one of these functions. I always recommend to use stretch tasks because it will keep the continuity of your activities well. So you're gonna click your proposed limit to 4 glaciers in this activity, click apply, click resolve, and after you finish, you see the modification of your schedule that was done automatically by the software. So certain tasks were stretched in order to lower the resource required to be executed. So if you go to the task report again, you see that the resources are much better leveled at this point. And you see that you have lower number of workers and that you have them spread over the time in much more optimal level. So if we go to the next task that also requires a lot of glaziers and check the results, again we have high peaks from 12 to 5 people from month to month. If we go in-depth analysis, it's even worse in some cases. Like here, you have to cut your working force by 60% in basically 2 weeks. So we're gonna apply the same system of leveling, just level selected, add affected task resources, use glaziers as the most critical resource. We can limit it at 8, I would say, because we have variations between 12 and 5. We can again use stretch tasks, analyze. We see a lot of tasks that need to be modified in order to impose this limit. So just apply it, resolve the conflicts, and here it is. We have modified the tasks, and now if we check our analytics, the situation is much better than it was. So now we have pretty continuously equal number of workers. We have variations from month to month, but we don't have variations from week to week to 50-40% at once. So this is much better option for our project. If we check overall analytics of the project, and let's just get all the activities at once, we see that now we managed to reach some more optimal use of the, in this case, glaziers, but you can repeat this process for any resource on any project in any task. So I find this very useful when you want to optimize your construction process. Okay, that was it from schedule modifications. Now we're gonna continue on, we can delete this schedule. Actually, we don't need it anymore because it was demo schedule only. We can now start introducing you to the progress tracking process. So we're gonna start with the short video showing this process. This video includes our collaboration with Trimble Connect online platform for exchange of information about progress on the project, but you can use any other platform that supports BCF file format exchange like BIM 360 or BIM Collab as well. We're going to just go through this short workflow before we try to recreate it in the software. So it basically looks like this. First, the user is trying to create simple look ahead plan. So it could be done through our schedule animation settings, with simple setting the period of animation to be exact as the reporting period. From the animation, you can simply select the elements that are planned to be executed in the period of, let's say, 1 month or 1 week, doesn't matter, depends what's your reporting period. You can select these elements, you can create, I have to just stop because it goes way too fast, faster than I can explain. So you can create selection set based on animation of the elements that should be executed in the next period, like this one. From that selection set, you can simply create BCF file So that's the file that you can, it's a standard open BIM file that you can use on a range of applications, BIM applications around the world. So you can send this file from Bexel Manager to someone who's, let's say, working on the construction site and tracking the progress. So you're going to send him the file that contains all the elements that should be executed in the following week or month. Then he can receive that file through any online platform, like in this case, Trimble Connect. He can open that file. We're going to see now how it is done. It could be open within an open BIM platform. And this user is able to see the elements like this one that are planned for the next period to be executed. So after that period is elapsed, he can just select the elements that are actually executed and unselect the ones that were not executed, like this one. So it basically says, okay, we have executed these part of elements that was planned, but this one was not executed. And he can simply save this as a new BCF file, submit it to the project manager again, send the file back, and then the project manager is able to open this new file in Bexel Manager to convert it to simple selection set of elements and use this selection set as the basis for progress input information. So basically you get only a selection set with all the elements of certain type of work marked as completed this week, and you only have to click that selection set and say, okay, these elements were completed in this period. You can update the schedule and the schedule will move forward regarding on the progress that you entered. So here you can again see the analytics, one by one schedule. You can actually have baseline schedule and actual schedule, which has populated information from the construction site, and you can see differences in cash flow, in duration, in resources use, price variation, and all other analytics simply from the task report function in our software. You can also export it to the Power BI report. We are now right now preparing a new Power BI template with some new extended functionalities as well, and we're going to talk about that more in detail on future sessions. So we're going to try to recreate this process, of course, without sending it to online platform because we don't have enough time for that. But for this exercise, I have prepared two schedules. One is a planned schedule, so it's basically one schedule that is based on the uniform cost database that has all resources included and that is optimized in certain way, in the same way as I explain you. So you can check the cash flow, for example, you can check the cumulative cost, the S-curve, you can check the resources used. So everything is a little bit optimized to have the most optimal construction sequence on the construction site. So we want to use this schedule as the baseline schedule. So we have to keep it untouched and we have to duplicate it to make new copy of this schedule that will be called demo actual schedule. This one will help us to include progress information. With included progress information, we're going to automatically modify the schedule. That's why we want to keep this one, the old one, as the baseline schedule, and we're going to set it here. The planned schedule will be a baseline for our new schedule. We click OK. And for now, because we haven't included any progress information, baseline schedule and actual schedule are the same at this moment. So if we want to start with inputting progress information, first we have to produce what we called look ahead plans. So look ahead plans are basically the selection sets that will give someone who's supervising construction idea what are the elements that should be executed in the reporting period, so in the next period of time, and it will use it as a reference to mark which elements are actually executed on site. So for that, we're going to just make a new folder for selection set, and we're going to call it demo look ahead plans. And we're going to make another one that's going to be called demo actual progress, let's say. So first we have to make look ahead plans. How we're going to do that? So we have our actual schedule that is set as active. We can go to schedule animation tab, update animation, and if we hit play, we're gonna get our animation of our schedule. But since we want to make a look ahead plan for a certain period of time, in this case, it could be 1 month, we can modify our animation to make steps not in hours or days, but in months. So we're gonna set, since our project is started on January the 4th, that our animation starts every 4th day in the month. So these will be the steps in our schedule. So if we click forward, we're gonna instantly get all the elements that should be executed between January the 4th and February the 4th. So we got the elements here, we need to select them. If we select the activities in the schedule animation, we can go to select leave tasks. We have selected all the tasks that were executed during this period, and we can select only completed elements within this period like this. So if we go back to 3D view, hide unselected elements, we're gonna get selected all the elements that should have been executed in this 1 month between January the 4th and February the 4th. So we can easily from this just create simple selection sets from selection that will be named planned for the first month, for month number 1. And there it is. Now you have all the information that you need to know on construction site, which elements were planned for execution in the first month. You can send this information simply like this. You just open BCF Manager in Bexel Manager and just drag and drop your selection set of elements here. And right away, you're gonna get a BCF file with all the elements contained within it with the view that you have on your screen. So now you're able to save this file and to send it to your coworker on the construction site, and it could be called planned for month 1, let's say. Simple as that. So if your project manager or supervisor on site doesn't use Bexel Manager software, you can send him BCF file. If he's using Bexel Manager, you can simply send him this selection set through exchange and export command as well. So you have 2 ways of exchanging information. So when your supervisor on site receives this selection set, he just has to open this BCF file. He will have these elements selected, and he can just uncheck the elements that were not executed during this period for this reason or that. Or on contrary, if they were performing very well, he can add new elements that were executed during this period of time. Here we're going to just unselect few of them and say, okay, these elements were executed, these not. And our coworker on the construction site can just simply create new selection set from selection that will be called actual for month 01, let's say. And there it is. Now we have information what was planned for that month, and we have information what was actually executed during this period. As I said, this could be again returned to Bexel Manager through exchange command, or again through BCF and through any online application that supports this format like Trimble, BIM 360, or BIM Collab. And our project manager can just import this information and have it as an selection set saved here. So in order to input this progress information into the project, he only need to open actual schedule and to go to the progress. This window will pop up. Here he only has to go to the new progress entry window to set the period. In our case, it's 1 month, so it's between February the 4th and January the 4th, and to add information. Here we have few options. One of it is to just add all the planned elements right away. So basically you can get what you have here as the planned. You can get these elements automatically here and then decide which elements are executed and which not. Or you can use it from selection set. If you use it from selection set, that you're gonna get all the activities that were connected to the elements in connection set. And if you get planned from the selection set, you're gonna get only the activities that were planned on these elements in the selection set. We're gonna use this command for now. We can go to demo actual progress, mark this selection set. Here we can check or uncheck this activity. So we can say, okay, include all the activities that were linked to these elements, or include only, or let me decide which activities to use. Why is this important? If you have a beam that is modeled as one element and you still have concrete pouring, concrete finishing, formwork, and reinforcement as 4 different activities linked to this element, maybe this month we only executed formwork, but we didn't execute the concrete pouring or reinforcement. So by unchecking this, you will be able to decide here which activity is or is not executed. So you can say, okay, I'm going to uncheck the activities that are related to concrete pouring because they were not executed yet. Here you can also choose the completed percentage. If they're set as completed, you can just say that all the elements are 100% complete, but you can also use different percentage if for some reason somebody sends you the information of 50% completed elements, for instance, as well. So when you get this progress entry editor and progress entry list that actually lists all the activities that are executed on this project, it gives you the quantities, it gives you the price, it gives you the percentage of completion for every activity, because remember that we have only decided to set the elements as 100% completed. So if we have in this selection set 20 beams, we said that 20 beams are 100% completed, but maybe the task is related to 30 beams. So if the 20 of them are completed, then certain percentage of this task is completed, but not all of it. So that's the difference. That's why we don't have 100% for all the tasks and activities here, because we are focusing on the elements itself. Also, besides this, you can directly go to resources and you can modify your resources during the entry. So maybe you can say, okay, we didn't spend 140 hours for this month for this activity. We spent more or less because we were more efficient or less efficient. Or maybe our gas engine vibrator that uses consumption's diesel fuel had to be with the higher price because the diesel fuel price was higher this month. So I can increase this price as well. I can see this calculation for every task here as well. So I can basically modify my entry information in this way. So just for example, we can say that carpenters were actually $90 per hour in this month. We can say that gas engine vibrator unit cost was higher due to the higher gas prices. And I don't know, we can have that pile drivers spend 20 hours more in executing their work. And we can close this entry log. We can click OK. And now there's one more important thing that you have to use. It's last enter date. That's actually the date after which, before which you cannot enter progress anymore. So if you have just entered all the elements that were executed in this 1 month, you're gonna just say that until February the 4th, you have closed your progress entry. You're gonna click this button and close everything. And right now we see the changes in the schedule. If you expand it, let's just pop it up. You're gonna see small dots on your tasks. So those are the tasks that were executed, that were completed, and they're all going up to this last enter date or status date. And you see that the duration of the schedule is a little bit extended because we were delaying some tasks. So schedule was automatically elongated because of that, because of this delay. You can also in task report compare these two schedules in detail basically, and to see day by day what was the difference in your cash flow dynamics, in your cumulative cost information, in your labor and material needs. Everything could be tracked through Bexel Manager. So basically this is the main workflow that we recommend for the progress entry. I'm gonna also show you another one that is some new feature that was added lately. For this one, I'm gonna use the same schedule. I can just use it for the next entry log. You can use something called progress mode. If you click it, you're gonna get these new buttons, and this allows you to enter progress in a more graphical way, something that is more familiar for the people that like Gantt chart and adding the progress in Gantt chart. So you can just add new progress entry. Again, the last enter date was February the 4th. We're gonna set the 1 month period for our next entry and just select it. Right now, we got 2 lines that actually represent our look ahead plan period. When you do this, you can use filter and you can actually find all the tasks that are contained within this period. We don't have such tasks that are fully executed or planned for execution during this period. And you can find partially overlapping tasks like these two. So you can find these two tasks that should be executed partially in this period of time. So you can select these two, go to progress, and you can mark these tasks as finished, or you can set completed percentage for these tasks. For this one, I would say we can mark it as finished because it will be completed during this task. And for this one, we can set completed percentage, let's say at 80%. Let's say that we were good for this time. You can just simply click apply, update last enter date, and now your schedule is further modified. You can turn off your filter and you can see that your schedule is further modified. You can check your task report and see some differences in cash flow because of this new entry. So basically, these are 2 main workflows for schedule update or progress input. You can also export payment certificates for this schedule. You can do this automatically. You can use the period of time. In our case, we can say that between February the 4th and March the 4th, we can set the period of 1 month. We can say that we want daily information, skip non-working intervals. We can save it here on the desktop, doesn't matter, just for the showcase. We're gonna get Excel file that is completely formatted as monthly payment certificate. So these are the raw data extracted from the software. This is the certification period. In our case, it's from February to the March. And this is monthly certificate table that you can further actually modify and customize by your need because it's a pivot table. But basically, you can see contracted quantities and price. You can see certified accumulated until the certification period. You can see what is executed in the certification period. You can see what is certified to date, and you can see balance to finish. So one general payment certificate report that could be actually generated with one click if you have all the progress information within your software. The another report that could be generated is progress report that actually includes all the activities on the project. We can customize it, use the activities, use the resources. So it's pretty open format. And then when you open it, you're able to filter your activities, your resources, labor resources, tasks, and you can see the exact actual quantities for certain periods, certification periods that were executed. You can modify them simply by clicking on it, and the software or Excel will just recalculate the progress percentage. So this is good for this is something we don't recommend, but you can use it as a workaround if you want to manually modify the input of your progress. So if there was some mistake or some problem with your input in the software, you can manually manipulate quantities here and then import it back to the software through the import from Excel function. So basically you're able to export your progress information, modify it or populate information manually and import it back to the schedule. As I said, we do not recommend this way of working because you will not have good information regarding dynamics of the project because all these resources will be just spread through the certification period and you will not have exact start and end date for all of these completed activities. So that was it basically for the what we can also do. We can just go to the schedule animation and just try to see how our now actual schedule with the progress imported looks like in animation. So show all, go to the schedule viewer, and we can see the dynamics of our project. We can change it to hourly animation so we can see more in detail how the works were performed on our construction site day by day. And what you can do, you can make animation of the planned schedule and animation of your actual schedule and compare it in the same way we did on the video you have seen at the beginning of this session. I'm going to just briefly introduce you to some basic settings in the schedule animation. So you can go in schedule animation to the options. Here you can change duration of the animation, frame rate. You can define the period for which you want to produce your animation. You can define if it's going to be on hourly, daily, or weekly basis. What is the difference? On hourly basis, the step of the animation is by hour. So you see by hour which elements were executed. If you change it to the, let's say, weekly, you're gonna get animation that looks like this. So the steps of animation will be 1 week long. So that's the main difference. You can also set some color coding rules for the elements that are active, that are not active, and so on. You have ability to include what we call neutral elements. So if you go back to the 3D view, you can find existing site elements like this one, and you can include them or exclude them from your animation. So like this, you don't basically have your surroundings. But if you again select these elements, go to the schedule viewer, right click and add it as neutral elements, they're gonna appear here. So your animation would have a context, which is very important if you want to export it and present it to your colleagues or to the investor on site. So those are the basic settings. In the exercise material, you can find much more about it. You can find all the ways you can actually manipulate this animation. You can set the legend, the activity legend that will show all the activities listed on the project and their percentage of completion. You can define the size and the colors on this legend. You can also include project overall costs and completed percentage as well as information, which you can see here on your timeline. And if you want to export it, you have a range of possible settings to set, from the video parameters to the codecs, export only certain frames or certain period of time from your video. You can change the background. So you can actually customize your animation in all possible ways. And besides this static animation that I have shown you, you have also something that we call animation as it is. It includes a camera that you can modify in this way. I'm going to just show you briefly one of these animations that you can find in the sample project. So you can set cameras on certain angles and then define the path. So your animation will be, let's say, alive. So the camera will go walk through the through the project during the execution, which could be very interesting for presentation purposes. I was intended to show you, to exercise creation of one of these animations, but I'm afraid that we don't have more time for that. But again, you can find more on that in education materials. So I believe this was all for today. I hope that you understand all the workflows that I have presented. I'm going to just briefly take a look on questions and answers to see if we have some interesting questions that are, so everything was answered by my colleagues. So let's see, in line of balance, is it based strictly on resources? When comparing two schedules, having one schedule in construction, is it possible to improve line of balance with the progress of a current construction? No, it's not based strictly on resources. So line of balance in this case is only different view of the schedule. So it's one integrated schedule. It's the same schedule from Gantt chart, line of balance chart, or logic chart. So all the modifications that you make within one of these views is reflected in another one. These views are just simply good so you can have different perspectives on the project. Line of balance is good for one thing, logic is good for another one, and the Gantt is good for the third one. Uh, do you have resources in your schedule depends only on the cost database that you use that is integrated with your schedule. So if you have your resources included in your cost database and that database is integrated in your schedule, you're going to have really precise analytics of these resources. And then you are able to use this function that we have demonstrated, resource leveling, to optimize your schedule further. So the next one is, we have only another one. Consider a number of BCF feedback from the construction site. Does the person at the field have to know Bexel manager near as the office receiving the info? Site typically lacking this kind of knowledge. No. Basically, you can have your site people or site cooperation completely without Bexel manager at all. Not to have knowledge of it, they don't have to use it at all. They can use any other platform. I mentioned some of them like Trimble Connect, like BIM 360, or let's say BIM Collab. There are probably much more of them on the market that support BCF format. So they just need to open BCF format in any of these online platforms and just to select the elements that were executed and to deselect the ones that were not, or to add, if they were really good this month, to add new elements into selection, send this BCF from this online application back to the Bexel manager, and the project manager in office can easily just input this progress data into official central schedule. So that was it. I think those were only two questions that I found in Q&A sections. So thank you very much for your attention, and see you next week on the last two sessions that will cover the topics of facility maintenance and some additional enterprise features of our software, like common data environment and 6D BIM. Thank you very much again. So see you next week. Goodbye.